Hi, good afternoon. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. This is episode 5 of the Synaptic Circle. I am your host, Heidi Popp. And today, my guest, I'm very excited to introduce. We are friends online. We've been friends for some time. And before I share our theme and our common thread, I just want to thank Rozy Alize. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. It's an honor.
Absolutely. And our friend from DC, coast to coast. Hi, Miss Sandra. How are you?
I am well, Heidi and Rosie. How about you guys?
Doing okay.
Doing
We're
good.
West Coast. We're West
West
Coast in the
Coast.
chilly rain right now.
Yep.
I see our friend Chastity. She's chilling outside on a beautiful day, listening to some beautiful ladies. So it has begun. Hi, Chastity. And hi, Alex. Hello to our friends in the chat. We see you. Hi, Mud Rabbit. Hi, Garrel. Hi, Mr. B. Thanks for that intro, Mr. B. Well, we have a couple common threads about us, but I want to start with, well, one of the threads being we working on our inner light and our inner soul, and we carry that into the 3D world. We work with what you would call average, normal, normies. What would you say now? I mean, regular old folk who
Regular
perhaps aren't regular people who aren't in the conscious communities online and things. We bring the soul out into the 3D matrix. But I wanted to first talk about the triggering word I heard that happens to be the word goddess. Selflessly a goddess. To me, I see the goddess in both of you for the fact that we take this inner light and lessons of love and passion, compassion for raising the spirit of humanity. We take it out into the real world. But I wanted to start the thread off by asking you both what your take on this goddess energy is. Do you want to start with Rosie? We'll start with you right there.
I'd love to start. So, one of the questions you asked us is, what is your version of a goddess? So we had these questions beforehand, so we could talk about them. And I think that a goddess is one who speaks, thinks, acts, and loves from their eternal flame within. So they set the best example of unconditional love. I wrote it down so I'd remember, and I was a little nervous, but it just means like working from within, getting out of the head and into the heart, and just going from there. And
That's
that's going to
beautiful.
look unique to the individual.
Yep. That's beautiful. I love that. And Miss Sandra, Miss Keep It Spiritually Simple.
Well, keeping it so spiritually simple, I never saw the question, so here we go. I'll just say it off the cuff because that's how I roll, y'all.
Yeah.
I think for me, goddess is the mother of all mothers. She is the embodiment of all things. I do try to stay away from feminine and masculine expressions, but she is the full expression of all things, and that being included. She doles out loving hugs and wisdom, but she can also open a can of whoop ass on you too.
Yep.
So, that to me defines goddess just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that's beautiful. Well, with that being said, and with kind of our common thread, I think we should still kind of introduce as well what it is you both do in your 3D life, as well as, the skills that you do. I mean, you both are juggling a lot of plates. So if you want to share a little bit of your background and what it is you do out there in this world today. Miss Rosie, what are you doing out there?
Oh man. So I've got a day job and like a night job, I guess. It's not really night. I have to go to bed really early, but my day job is I work in the legal world. I'm a legal secretary right now, going into paralegal studies. So I'm also studying. And the ultimate goal is to practice with a license here in Oregon as a paralegal in family law. So I'm working as a legal secretary now at a law firm, and I'm actually also a CASA volunteer. So court-appointed special advocates, I'm in training for that as well. So I'm getting a massive dive headlong into a very crazy world of that humans in this country are living in. It's the ins and outs and personal lives and details of everybody's life while they're going through traumatic events.
Oh, wow. Is that, you said CASA, is that when you go into the home and you're observing for the courts? Like probably with families and children too?
When you're a
Mhm.
volunteer, so you're working with directly with children who are in the court system. They are trying to reconnect with their families
Mm,
and drug addicts or abusive, neglectful. So they're working with Department of Human Services and the courts to try to fix everything. So a lot of the parents are coming off of drugs and the kids are just trying to manage. So we're working directly with the kids as a friend.
okay.
No, it's a volunteer position. So there's no um, job description other than the guidelines that we have to stick to, which are very specific, but we're not getting paid. We're just doing it
Okay.
there.
Passion. Gotcha. Gotcha with the passion there.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
lots of passion.
And I know with the 3D world there, Miss Sandra, that you're beautifying the world.
Well, I think I wear multiple hats.
Yes.
I'm not a 9 to 5er with the job. I work multiple jobs, so I have the embodiment of the soul business that I work with, and that is working with the healing arts. And then I also work in a medical practice where I work for different practitioners. I also do medical aesthetics and treatments in that, where I incorporate um, some of the healing work that I do with each client, and phlebotomist. So I draw blood and do all those fun things for the practitioners. And then I've recently added elder care companion, where
Oh,
I am assigned elder care. Some are a little bit physically challenged, and then some have breakdown mentally of dementia or other issues that are going on. So I have
wow.
a handful that I steadily see, because it appears that once they've met me, they're asking for me to come back. So, and I think
Of
that's
course
just
they
the
are.
energetics of it. But I get to see, Rosie, you get to see the legal system and the craziness that happens in the 3D world there. I get to experience the medical side of it, the allopathic medicine, and then trying to incorporate the other side of it in there too. And then seeing the elder care side of it and seeing the neglect and mainstream philosophy on that. And so it's really been teaching me quite a bit lately. So I think many of us, Heidi, Rosie, myself, and others, we've got a foot in both worlds.
Yeah. Yes, we really do. And I think that to me is an embodiment of a goddess energy to be able to do that.
Yes.
Um, we're also all moms. We all have that mom energy, which I think
Hmm.
is a big to do. And with Sandra, you as well. Well, both of you, as far as social media. So, Sandra, I'm a big fan of your YouTube, Keep It Spiritually Simple. You're vlogging like every day, maybe sometimes 2, 3 times a day, even, as well as doing shows and being guests on shows. So, you are putting yourself out there raw and in an authentic way. You're very transparent in your thoughts. You have the downloads and intuitive energy, and you're lifting everyone with your energy. And Rosie, I see you do that online as well. You're very poetic in your writings. I got very into your posts because of that, or your rawness and the realness that's out there. Again, I think that's part of the goddess thing energy to do. But when did you start getting into that, Sandra? I might probably asked you on our last show, but do you
Oh,
want to
that's
talk
okay.
about vlogging?
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
got
and
a lot
and
of new viewers on here that probably need to hear it. Well, I came in with my first languages as a feeler, and had
mhm.
to learn how to function in the thinking world as a feeler. And so it wasn't until many decades later became a massage therapist. And when I became a massage therapist and had my hands on people, ancestors and energetic things would occur, which then took me down a whole other path of communicating with different people on different sides of the veil, as well as incorporating it into that client's now moment. And then it just kind of spun me off into, past life regression and beyond quantum healing and different hypnosises and zone technique therapy, which is um, there's 6 zones in the body. You identify one of them. Each of the 6 zones houses every cell within the body. So if you can help reset one zone, you simultaneously reset the others. And it's associated with each vertebrae of the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, which is the nervous system, pathways back up to the brain. And then I've always done advanced Reiki, but this really all stems for me since childhood, being able to place my hands on other people and pets. And I just knew stuff. I just always knew stuff. And so to me, it's just part of me,
Mhm.
doesn't, I don't, I'll go take another course and I'll go, I already kind of know this.
Mhm.
So I hope that
Mhm.
answers your
Oh,
question.
sure. I love it. And Rosie, with you being so raw and authentic online, what was that journey like for you when you just started to be like, you know what? I'm going to show all my parts.
I went through a really tough court battle. Um, I went through 2 court battles at the same time. It was a family law related matter, and I went through the ringer. And can you hear me very well? The
Yeah.
noise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went through the ringer with that. And I was alone. I did not have a lot of help. And so I had to fight through my own fear in the courtroom alone. And I think just like the rawness came through me. Like I had no other choice but to be raw, like right there on the stand and all that. So that was part of it. And then just personal experiences in the last couple of years have been really extreme. Like I became psychically inclined. Um, so that really pushed me through. I activated guides who I gave them permission to work with me and to use me to help the world or whatever I need to do. And it has been just like propelling me forward ever since. I can't escape it. I tried. I tried to
Yeah.
stop all of it, all of the noise, I guess, that you get from, as a psychic. And I got in
Mhm.
a snowboarding accident when I literally told the guides to leave me alone. I got in a snowboarding accident. They're like, you're on a mission and you're doing this. Because I just didn't,
Wow.
I was asking for guidance, but didn't really want guidance. You know what I mean? Like so many of us do. Like we ask for help, and when it comes in, it's hard to accept help or to even listen and hear when it's coming. So I
Mhm.
started tapping into that. And then what I keep getting is be real, be raw, just be authentic, because you know what? So many other people are feeling the same thing. So many people are struggling with the same thing. So just be as authentic as possible so you can actually relate to people. And then
Yes.
in that essence, teach them something because from your own experience.
Yes. Yes. That's why I love doing this. It's sharing our insight, sharing our human experience, building
Yeah.
community. That's what's I think imperative right now. And you brought up something important that I think we all can relate with too as well is trusting our guides. I
Yeah.
know right before we taped, Rosie, I was talking as well about how when I was going through a hardship of being rejected, and then I had to trust that no, I'm being protected. It's not rejection, it's protection. And I know Sandra, you work on the daily with your guides and for others as well. um, how does that look for you? What's that like for you? Is that just all day every day, or do you just tap in, you're like knock knock knock, are my guides there?
Well,
I chat.
we merged along, my higher self and I merged a long time ago. So I communicate a little bit differently. Um, when I'm working with other people, I invite their guides in to work with my guides, and we kind of go on a little bit of an insight in a journey. But I don't make a move without them. Now I can always tell the difference between like just the me talking, or something has just come through, because they will use different words, a different expression, the feeling will be a little bit different, and it's sometimes like I can go a little bit comatose. I don't know how else to explain it. And then it will completely be gone. Like I remember nothing of what they just said. And then someone will look at me with a blank look and go, "Oh my God, that was so freaking profound." And I'm like, what was said? I want to remember this. Yeah. So that can happen too. I can feel
Okay.
like I have multiple personalities.
Well,
For
a question.
sure.
Here's a question from Anna. How can anyone connect with their guides and follow them? Do we have something to say about that? Kind of tapped into that there for yourself, Sandra. Do you have any advice to someone else to check in with theirs?
Always
And
know
then
that you're
Rosie, I'll ask
walking.
you.
Yes, you always know that you're walking around with your mirror self. So the way spirit has shown me is you are here in this physical, your spirit is housed here, your soul is sort of like a recording device, right? And the essence of what it is that you need material wise to get the spirit to walk in a path of accomplishment and its goals and lessons and karma and so on. You have a whole guide team that's here with you. But your main one, who's always going to be your guardian, is your higher self, which is the opposite of the sex that you are. So if I'm a female, then my male counterpart, the other half of my soul self, so to speak, is always around me, is always there. I used to see it as a child, and sometimes they would show it to me separately, and then we would merge together and I could feel it. So the key here is don't overthink what it is you think it's supposed to look like because of someone else's story. Just know that you're walking, living sparks of the divine creator, and everything you need is in this software system. And just stop, drop, sit, connect with that breath and just walk with it. And you'll learn some different dialoguing going on. You'll sense it.
Oh, yes. I love that. Miss Rosie, and with you, what do you have advice to someone, or when you work with the client, how do you ask them to tap into the guides and things?
Tapping into the guides, as Sandra said, is the same as tapping into the higher self. So what I see it as is I allow the guides to take over my higher self when I need it. So I let their consciousness speak to me. I activate that. So I'm getting the consciousness of what I see as a higher understanding than mine. And so that's I still have my understanding of it going on. I still have my own version. So there's two things going on at once. Like Sandra was saying, I still am able to like watch this happening, but I have the guide's voice as well. So it's simultaneous. So again, the first thing I did was just activate that and allow it to happen. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to actually do much. It just comes in and I have to just receive it. And I wrote down, remember what feels good in the heart. So that's the key word, is to remember it. And then getting out of the head and into the heart. So
You're both saying that. Yep.
Yeah, the heart is a better way of dealing with everything than the head. The head is going to be like the AI version of the internet, right? We have our thing that we wrote on the internet, and then there's the AI version of it, right? The AI translates and comes up with concepts, but it's not quite authentic, right? Because it's just reading the algorithms. That's what our head kind of does too. So if we can get into the heart and just feel more and allow ourselves to feel what comes in, that's really powerful. Feeling is the most powerful thing. It's intuition, it's all that. So allowing ourselves to feel what we feel and just taking a minute and just remembering who we were when we were like 2 years old. When we were 2 years old, we had no trouble being like, wow, I love ice cream cones, right? I love ice cream cones. I love toys. That's like, we love stuff too as grown-ups, but we have a lot of programming that's kept us from remembering that.
Aw, that's really so. Or combining. What if you connect the head and the heart?
Yeah.
I love when you say drop into the heart, because I'll say that with the class when I'm working with kids. It's like, well, how's this feeling? Like, there's your answer. We can all relate to, is my heart hurting or feeling good?
And that's why we need more instructors and teachers that do that. We've been living in a world where everything's gone through the mental portals. And so the poles are shifting, and that's what they're talking about with poles shifting, and polarity is shifting. And so we're shifting from the mental being primary to the heart portal being primary. And so when you do that, now you're in combination as well as opening the fifth chakra. So when you're speaking of feelings, no one can really argue with the way you feel, right? They can argue with something you may have said intellectually because there's some kind of documentation they can compare it to. But you can't really argue with feelings. And anyone that's a trained psychologist, psychiatrist, and so on and so forth will tell you that. The other thing I wanted to say about the question you asked was, I do not hear voices. I do not hear a voice other than my own. And I always know when it's typical of one of my thoughts or it's one from my higher self, because the feeling will be different. And again, sometimes the essence of what it is that they're using, words maybe, or a lot of diagrams. I get a lot of visual, and then I have to interpret it. And I always feel sometimes when I have to interpret it, I have to shrink it down and then deliver it to the person in a language that they may understand. So there may be some key points. So a lot of people get confused, and I wanted to clarify that because I noticed Rozy was saying, I hear, and she may hear voices. I have friends that hear it just like you hear you and I. But when I commune with my higher self and ask for more assistance outside of my physical conduit, because none of it can exist without the physical conduit. None of it. Everything is tethered to the physical conduit. The physical conduit goes, the team, the higher self, they also leave the planet. Because you're all tethered. There's a lot of responsibility as a physical human. And this is what a lot of the awakening is about. But I don't know about you, Rozy, or even you, Heidi. Do you hear a separate tone or voice?
It's so funny when you were talking, I'm like, oh, I have to share with her. Sometimes I think of you, Sandra, because I always think of KISS, like keep it spiritually simple. When I do get some sort of something, it's when it's at its simplest, like firm, direct, clear. I'm like, oh, that's my higher self. When it's like, I don't know, maybe back and forth circles, I'm like, oh, that's the chatter. That's the distracting chatter. So that's how I differentiate. But how about you, Rozy? What's when you say you hear that? What is it you're hearing?
It's my higher self's voice. My higher self's voice is I guess that's what I'm hearing. It's like myself talking, like self-talk. Like if you were to right now say in your mind, tree, say it in your mind, tree, right? That's it.
Gotcha.
It's like I don't know how else to describe it other than it's like a thought.
Yeah.
It's just like me, It's my consciousness. It's my consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's all related. So everything that we're kind of going through right now is reflected out. So like if you're for that question earlier, how can we tap in? Well, you can kind of tell if you're tapped in by what you're receiving too, because it's all energy exchange. So we're constantly projecting out everything. And there are people that can read that. There are people that can pick up on that without even realizing what they're doing, without that they're picking up on your energy. So we're always constantly projecting. So whatever we're receiving, that's a good gauge to tell where we're at in this process, basically. It's all related. We're all related.
That makes
Everything's
sense.
happening for a reason.
Yeah. Here's not quite a pivot, but similar. But do you use light language? Hi, Carol, and hi, Alex. I'll ask your question in just 1 second. Light language. What about? Does that come into any of you guys? Does that come into play?
Yes, for me, it will come in when I'm in session, and sometimes it's just a rhythm, and then the rhythm will come out with sound from my voice. And sometimes it can just be a low, quiet, background, and then sometimes it can come out even louder. It can happen when you're drumming, anything that's invoking the rhythm of your body, and then you allow your vocals to just kind of play with it. Because everything is energy. Every thought is energy. Every syllable, every movement, every part of your vocal cord coming together and making any kind of noise, even if it's not, a constructive word, it's a sound and it has energy. So the intention of it for me is I just call it love language. Everything I say and do is love language. Lots of times just doesn't make sense to someone.
That makes sense to me.
What is,
And Rozy,
well, what is light language exactly? What's your definition of it? Because I don't know if everybody knows what it is. I don't even know what it is exactly. Is it just like using, yeah.
Well, I like what you were saying, Sandra, about you can continue with that one. What you were saying.
I was just going to say a couple years ago, when light language was becoming this, and everyone was getting on there and using all this dialect and everything. And I'm like, well, I must be missing out. Why am I not getting this? And so I literally had someone talk me into taking a course. And she's like, oh, you're Lyran and you've got this sound and that sound. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really brand myself with one particular ET or anything. I was like, oh, okay. And so I tried to attempt it, but I felt like it was something that was being forced upon me to create, and almost to me was, it just wasn't being, it was being more superficial. I wasn't allowing myself to be more authentic with it. So I sort of allowed that to just drop, and not intentionally set my thing that I'm going to do something really cool here. I just let it come through when I'm with clients and doing certain things with clients. And it's the vibration of the energetic love and the intention of whatever sounds are coming out. That is what resonates and is received well by whoever it is that's listening.
Yeah, that's a mic drop one. And you got a yes from Anna. Yep. And you know what we're saying, and we brought up something, and this is the 5th episode of the Synaptic Circle. And every episode, it always comes back to vibration and frequency and energy, because that's what everything is. So I do see that as just another form of that coming through, just another form of expression of it. Kind of a pivot here, because I'm going to go backwards. There was a question up here from our buddy Alex, but I also want to phrase it in the beginning. Sandra, you were saying about, I don't remember exactly how you said it. Do you not align with the divine masculine feminine aspect? Or let's get into that, because basically he's asking, how best can men learn from the divine feminine?
Okay, so I'm going to get real straightforward with it, because I don't know how else to do it. I've been listening to crapola out here on this YouTube platforms, and everyone trying to create a way to make money for themselves, and they're falsifying a lot of information. Your physical body is masculine and feminine. Your energetics are masculine and feminine, right? It's just the way it is. And so I don't like to divide the two. And then when people are talking about their twin flame and creating all these programs on twin flame, and I'm like, my guides are like banging their heads against every wall in my house going, are you going to say something? And I'm like, no, I'm just going to wait. But, that's like saying, don't be happy with what you have. Look for the needle in the haystack. You have more luck finding a divine partner that way. Your higher self is your twin flame, and most of them are not walking on this planet with you. So I don't like to get into what is divine feminine, what is divine masculine. We are the divinity of all of it. We are the V from the universe. It's all within us. And the more we try to categorize and separate and divide and create things that are complicated, we're getting further and further away from keeping it freaking spiritually simple. Live your life. Know that you are complete in this physical orifice, and move step by step to the best of your ability, being of service to self and to others. Because you have to be the walking, living, breathing example of that, to emanate that out. So if you really want to shine your light, learn how to work with this light, and know that every feminine, every divine cell, every masculine cell is within this hood.
It is a balance of it, right?
Yes. Sorry, I get a little like, occasionally I get fired up.
I love it. Well, and essentially, it's always looking outside yourself for a missing part when really we have all the
Yes.
parts. We just have to waken them up and put them all together. Rosie, what are your thoughts on that, though? I mean, not that you have to, align with it all either, but you might have your own viewpoint on that.
I agree with that, actually. I think that when we're in the space of still defining what it means, we might see it separately. But then once one understands like what each one means, what it represents, it's naturally going to come to a point. Like it's naturally going to come together. We will naturally be able to see and feel how it moves within us. So the divine feminine and divine masculine are all within one. Like it's just we might be living as a I'm living as a woman, but like I've had many experience. I believe in past lives, so I've had many experiences as a man. In fact, more. I think I'm pretty sure more. But in this life, I'm very much, a woman. So I think it's just a matter of finding the balance within the self and accepting it and receiving both. And we can always put out there in the world. We can say, I want to be inspired by the highest good. So whatever comes in, I say, I ask my guides, or I just ask my higher self, whatever comes in, I'm going to have the filter of the highest good. So that kind of covers all the bases. And then, so masculine energies, feminine energies, they're going to find where they fit, fill the puzzle pieces wherever they are. We're magnetic beings. So those are polarities that are all part of the same, sphere or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
So they're just naturally there. Yeah.
And there's the work, right? It's trying to figure out how to balance it and address those things. I love that. Alice, I hope that answered your question. I wanted to just share this because I have to say hello to beautiful Sandra Smith. She's just such a lovely support. And I've been blessed by having her sing to me in Messenger before. So she's knowing about those frequencies of sound. But she's sharing sounds and songs, tones for me has evolved. How you do it and how you understand it. Yep, everything sound and frequency. Absolutely. And then you have a shout out, Miss Sandra, from Sandra. Communities.
Hi, Sandra Joy.
She's such a sweet pea. Communities becoming fundamentals, a natural progression, it might seem. Yes, absolutely. And Mr. Bauer, hello, Professor. We love ya. He gets it too. That balance of that divine femme, masculine and feminine. Well, a mini pivot, and I see you, Mr. Jim. Hi, Jim. And Joe Fox. Okay, I guess I say hello to the chat. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for chiming in. Happy birthday, Joe Fox. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all you. So yes, please, if you have questions for Sandra or Rosie, throw them on in there. I wanted to pivot just a little bit since we're talking about frequency and energy. Since you both work with everyone, those who are in the conscious communities, those that are not, what are you seeing out there? How is the frequency of humanity? Have you seen a shift in the past few years? Do you find more now lately people are looking to heal more, or what's it look out there for you? Look like out there for you, if that makes any sense. Rosie, you want to start with you?
It looks crazy out there. It's crazy. I mean, post-pandemic is crazy. I live in Salem, Oregon, and we've watched the homeless population skyrocket. In Oregon, as an example, because that's where I'm at, we have we're the second most drug addicted state in the union, with the 50th lowest level of number 50th on treatment centers for drugs. So that gives you any idea, we have $700 billion a year lost because of drug-related crimes here. So that's a huge impact here. And that's really gone up since the pandemic. It's gone up over the last few years. They decriminalized drugs here. So that was a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a lot of people just needing help. If you're seeing that happening, it's probably happening in the normal people lives too, and it is. There's a lot of people reaching out to communities like ours for answers they can't find anywhere else. So I'm
Mm.
sure Sandra knows all about this. She's working in the medical industry. I'd love to hear what she's seeing.
Yeah. What are you seeing out there, Sandra?
Well, you
And your
guys,
clients?
I'm from Washington, D.C., so does that tell you
I
anything?
know. Thank you for all you
I,
do out
I,
there.
I've said, Spirit, am I done anchoring? And they're like, a little longer, a little longer. For me, I could tell you it's dark, it's dense, that people majority are not awakened. I could tell you all kinds of things that would probably be kind of factual, but I am concerned about where's my frequency, where's my light, and how do I bob and weave and navigate through all of that and still head towards my destinations with my multiple missions. And really, it's about playing with my own frequency. And I can't worry about the person to the left or to the right that isn't awake or is aware. What I have seen, especially recently, is that there is a little bit more of a push of those becoming aware that something just isn't right. And there's a lot of masquerade partying going on that others are now seeing that they maybe didn't see a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, etc. Now, has the post, left us with a lot of crap? Yes, it has. But at the same time, it's also left us with some awakening. And so more and more people are willing to stand up and speak up about some things. So you are finding more groups. I think for me, I find less resistance because my light is my frequency dial is locked in, and I can just maneuver through them without allowing it to affect me or stick on me. That I need to go out there and wake up these people, because that's a 3D mentality too. Because the key is, how awake am I, and how much control do I have over my own frequencies in order to be the best beacon of light that I can be to sustain my own life in high quality, and then also be available when someone else needs it as well. And that could be in the grocery store. That could be passing them on the road. They're passing me by in rage, and I'm just kind of ironing it out with love, just because I'm just aware of my own frequency. So I don't want to go down the path of people need to wake the frick up and get on the bandwidth, because everybody's on their own switch. And everyone's going to have their own visceral thing that's going to create awakening, even if it's 1 degree of separation, like something happened to someone else and it affects me. But this is a year I'm seeing more light and a lot more kindness. At least that's what I'm experiencing over the last couple of weeks, is just, I think more higher selves are becoming embodied through the celestial and the ET work that's being done beyond us. And our timer switch is going, it's time, it's time, it's time.
That it is. Absolutely. There's the shifts all around. And Rosie, I know you're I think that's you hit
I
something
keep trying
good,
to
though.
keep in mind the idea of taking no offense.
Taking no offense. I think you froze.
She froze. It'll
Uh-oh.
come back
Yeah.
on.
You'll come back on. I heard taking no offense. I think that's a good
And
hit.
that's also part of coming into your own. That's also part of knowing that, look, this is my vehicle, and I've got to stay in my lane with it, and I can create no harm, etc. So Rosie, we lost you at take no offense.
Yeah. That's what we got.
Yeah, that was a great way to segue into that. Yeah, I lost service. Take no offense. It just means take no offense. That's it. There is no
To how
enemy.
you're received.
To
Yeah.
how you're
How you're
take
received,
no offense,
and where the
take no offense to how you're received, But also like receiving people the same way you expect them, you expected them to receive you, right? So do unto others, right? So how would people like to be received, and receive them like that, and keep that in mind, like how would I like to come across, And so trying to remember other people's experiences. So when we're out there in the world, it's kind of helpful to practice that. So like when you're having an interaction with somebody, like I deal with a lot of legal clients, so listening to understand is huge, instead of listening to respond, because you'll actually get way more information, and you'll learn how the way they think. So if you're in the helper community or the assisting community like we are, it to understand their experience is key. We can't help people if we don't even understand their full experience. So just keeping that in mind, and taking no offense by that. So like people that are on this, I'll use the drug problem we're having. A lot of the problem they're having is that people judge them. From the judgment, they give up on themselves. So if we just like take no offense to seeing them and just be like, hey man, you want something to eat? I'm gonna bring you this just to be nice, like that kind of stuff, or just smiling at them. If we were in that position, how would we want to be treated? And we think about that in every moment. And that's in itself a practice that can help us authenticate it within too, because it really makes us vulnerable too to be like that.
I want to say something. This just came through. Roxy, you're in a very dense,
Rozy.
Rozy, I'm sorry, Rozy, you're in a very dense institution. During the day, and I get some of that in the medical field too, because it's a lot of that deep old programming, but we're called to be there, to be those beacons of light, and sort of be that iron and walk through them. So, yeah, my hat's off to you.
That's a big.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You all are doing such big work. Go ahead, Rozy. Yeah.
It's one of the densest, I think. I work directly with judges. I work directly with legal professionals. There's ethics laws that we have to live by. We can't just go home and talk about our day like everybody else, or like a lot of other people can. It's a lot of internal processing, and the law runs a lot of what we're doing. It runs at things here. So I think that was why I was guided to do this. It's really difficult, especially because of being so sensitive and being a psychic. I can tell when people are lying. I can tell a lot of things. And so I am quickly learning how to navigate that at this deep, deep level. So I'm also working with the tribal courts, and that's a different take on it. So I'm doing CASA for the tribal courts and CASA for the county court that I'm living in. And it's like CASA is being the court appointed special advocate, so the volunteering that I'm doing. And it's a very deep, 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 deep thing. And I'm seeing the layers of what happened to the indigenous people here. I'm working with both sides at the same time. So there's an experience from both sides. What happened to the people here, all over the country, all over the world, but a lot of this, what I'm seeing, unfortunately, is karmic, I think. I'm seeing the after effects of what happens when human beings clash to such a degree that the after effects take generations to pop up. And some of what we're seeing is a little karmic from what people have done here to these lands. So I see that while I'm working with people that are descendants of those who did it, who continue to do it. And so I'm like, feeling like I'm in a position to set an example and kind of be like diplomatic a little bit, maybe. And that's a lot of pressure. And it's like especially been heavy hitting since this year started. So I'm balancing all that and trying to keep in mind eyes on the prize, always eyes on the prize. And in every moment, every single moment, remembering who I am. Number one, I'm a kind person, I'm a loving person. And that's the example I set 24/7. And if I keep that in mind, it actually starts to work.
Aw. The perfect formula right there. And then,
Yeah.
again, I'm not surprised we're all in these heavy, dense areas, and Rosie, you're called to such heavy, heavy work. And I think that ties in, Professor Bauer, what you so eloquently said, per usual. Introspective frequency awareness is the most important practice anyone can do. Everyone's time is different. So if we're constantly doing that work and balancing out our inside, and we come across someone who's, struggling, we are helping them without even knowing we're helping them, just by maintaining that high frequency. So I'm not surprised at all that you're where you are, Rosie, doing what you're doing. How do you find both of you? How do you find this? The strength, like when the matrix gets you down, or does it get you down, like how do you bring yourself back up, or come? I don't think I ever asked you that one before, Rosie, but how do you come back to it? How do you bring your frequency up when you feel that maybe your surroundings are just starting to take you down a little bit? Or do they
When
even
I
take you
think
down?
all the
Mhm.
time, all the time, daily. I get to the point where I'm gonna cry at work, or I get home at the end of the week. Like this last week was a really hard week. And so I got home and I just wanted to sit down and bawl my eyes out and ask if this is the right path.
Mhm.
Is this the right way? Am I meant to do this? This hurts. Like, and then in those moments, like I'm alone and no one else understands. Like that's truly, I don't really have very many people that can relate to this experience. So the ones who do, I'll keep in touch with them. They know me well enough to kind of help me. So there's that. Seeking
Mhm.
help from friends and not letting myself get too much in the pit of despair. And then
Mhm.
just remembering that, wait a minute, we've been here before, or we've been here before. So how did I get back last time? Oh, yeah, that's right. Self-talk. Let's talk through it. And so sometimes I'll talk out loud to myself. And that's talking with the higher self for me. I talk out loud to myself and have conversations. Well, how do you feel right now? Feel like crap. Why do you feel like crap? Well, I heard something that made me feel sad earlier. What was it? And so diving into it in my own self, having those conversations with myself really is like a huge guide through what I'm actually feeling. That's okay to feel like that. Everything's okay. So that's how I do it.
Gotcha. And Sandra, I know you've been at this practice for some time, like the wise one, I say. So, do you have those moments of you're like, oh, okay, the muck is on me, or I got some hitchhikers, or what do you do to bring it
Sure.
back up?
Sure, because we're human. We're human, and we have feelings. We have multitudes of feelings, and we can feel the hurt and the rejection, or the push and the shove, and especially us that are in this field that are highly functioning empathics. And so until we learn how to really dialogue with the energies of the feelings, we're going to find ourselves sometimes encumbered with dense darkness that just kind of comes over us, that can create hopelessness, or feeling like, screw this day, I just can't. But I have a wicked sense of humor, and so I do a lot of laughing. And then the guides kind of trained me back in massage how to detach a little bit more. um, but there's still triggers. There's triggers that happen all the time to the best of us, and we have to, I stop, drop, sit, connect with my breath, become aware that this was not personal. I cannot fix everyone, because I will take people out of their life experience. My job here is to activate and empower people to find their own dial system within themselves, and just to create a loving, safe, and trusting environment for those. And then I just have to take my own advice, so to speak, and sometimes have some self talks and a Epsom salt bath.
Good old Epsom salt for the win.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I do that with the kids too. Throw them in an
yeah,
Epsom salt.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We wouldn't be our little bits humans, no matter whatever part of that percentage of that we are the human, but we are human and we're feelers and we're creators. So yeah, it's,
I thought that
yeah.
was a good point to take your own advice.
Yeah,
I have a lot of advice to give, and I put it on Facebook a lot, and a lot of that's just me advising myself. Like a lot of what I post on Facebook is literally what I heard in my higher self. I heard it in the shower. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to post this really quick. It just comes in like that. And then I'm hearing it to me, but I'm going to post it there. And I know I'm going to forget to, later, probably I'm going to have a moment. And so if I see it there or people will comment on it, I'm like, oh yeah, realign. Remember that? Okay, realign. So it's like we're all just, as Sandra said, we're all just human, just trying to make it here. Like this is part of the story. Like the guides are here for us. They're here for us. Like they're guiding us. Like they're all in here pretty much, right? Yeah. So we are the powerful ones here. We are doing it. And like that took, when I figured that out, I recently figured that out, that they're here to help us. They're not running around. I don't see, Pather running around out here. I don't see any of these beings out here. They have to work through us. So we honor them and we honor those just the energy in general by doing our best to align with it. So we are in charge, and that's really a powerful position. That's awesome. And it's really hard, and everybody knows it. It's hard for everybody. Hard for everybody. And so when we can recognize the hard in other people around us, it gets easier to accept our own sometimes too.
Yeah, and Rozy, I applaud you for getting messages and putting them right out there. I have to do the same thing, because most of the messages that are coming to me that I think are for me, or I think come to me that I think are for someone else, are for me, because we're all one. So I say, hey, you know what? If I'm feeling this and I'm experiencing this, somebody else out there is experiencing this too. It could be one person. It doesn't matter. You still just put it out there and just let spirit put it in whatever receiving box to each person or whatever that it needs to go. So yeah, thank you.
And these are the beautiful reminders that I keep and take it to heart when I see all the fighting online, or well, this has this information, or no, your guides can't talk to you that way, or that's incorrect. It's just like everybody, to each his own, as long as they're getting the work done, but also like keeping it spiritually simple. You break it all down to the root of it. It is the basics. Forgiveness, compassion, empathy, all of the little basics. And then it expresses itself in all these different ways, depending upon the human and how they receive it. So, yeah, that you got to get through all the muck of the infighting, but no, we are by shining bright. That's my take around. I'm circling back to showing my gratitude to both of you for showing your goddess self selflessly online in a very raw and authentic way. And I'm watching your viewers. I'm watching people respond. And I myself, in my most raw, authentic moments, even when I'm throwing out sass and I'm like pissed and I'm just like, and I'm writing, it connects with people because they're like, oh, okay, you're being human right now. Like, that's really raw. I can resonate with that. It's there's a little thread of humanity. You can bring everybody in that way.
And everybody else is being human in their response. So even if they're offended, even if they're upset by what we're saying, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. They can be offended. That's okay.
Yeah. There's the mirroring. And I'm looking at you. Hi, Neil. Hi, Neil. Hi, Zachary. I see you all there. Thank you so much. Thank the universe on a daily basis. Ever since my life. Yes. You're very welcome, Mr. Neil. I have these ladies to thank for that too, because they remind me that when I come across their content. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, what do you see the next steps? I'm not sure how I worded it in the questions, Rozy, but the next unfolding of these levels for humanity, like what do you see coming up? Like what do you want to see coming up? Anything you want to take from that? Rozy, I see that.
The way you questioned it was, how do you see the timeline? I think is what the way you worded it. What is
Thank
the
you.
human's timeline? Right.
Mhm.
And I hear a lot of different things about that, but I see us all finding the light. Like all of us going to the light, like every last one of us, even the worst of us. I see a lot of people choosing to find it in a different way, meaning they'll pass away, and then find it like that. Some people will have trouble connecting in this life, and that's okay. We set the example. So I see humanity ultimately achieving its goal of returning to the light 100%. And that's going to happen. We're just acting it out right now. We're all acting
Mm.
it out. Setting the
Mhm.
example for each other is really crucial. Set the example of what you want to see in the world.
Love that. Beautiful. And how about you, Sandra? The timeline, or do you look at timelines?
No, but I can always sense when energetics have switched. I mean, it's just I there's a feeling that happens, I just know something has changed. I don't always have to know the details. Spirit shows me more like where's your light and how are you jumping through things? How are you jumping the hoops and the hurdles and how are you being in this physical vessel? How are you conducting yourself through all the changes? Because it's like the weather. We can't do anything about it. We can't see the wind, but we know the effects of the wind. So I always have to just take a little check. Hey, how are you today? Are you paying attention? Are you slowing your roll a little bit? Are you listening? Are you being an example? Are you speaking when messages come through and it needs to be spoken? Or are you listening and saying, that's really not something I'm supposed to share with them, and be content with just knowing it? So timelines are going to keep changing. I see a lot of very good things occurring. I'm not a predictor. I do not channel. I only converse with my higher self. I have guides. They've never identified themselves as what they are in their name, and they've always told me it's not important. It's not important at this time. There will be more moving forward, I'm told, and I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But I see a lot of good things happening and people coming together and joining arm in arm and
Mm-hmm.
not letting so much of the density that's going on get you down. So, you know what? This debris has to come up to the surface to be skimmed off. And this has to come up to the surface to be seen and skimmed off. And the other thing that was coming up for this morning about all these changes that are happening is, we come across problems and we have to figure out how to deal with them, right? But if we can't heal them unless we get into the feelings of them. So we have to feel our way through every day and be the best that we can be, and anchor this vessel and
Yeah.
keep your frequency meter intact so that you are responding and are reflecting and are receiving into the highest degree that you're capable of doing in that moment.
Mm, there you go. And Professor, I threw him up on the screen again there because I resonate with it will be nothing short of epic. What you're saying, Professor, the great reveal ahead will be the most profound energetic transformation of human experience. And Professor, I think this is the first time I'm ever going to challenge you on this, meaning I think it's now. It could be in this second. It's shifting it right now. I don't know if it's going to be down the road, but I think it could be right now if we make those shifts inside that energetic transformation. You mean, I think, Professor, what you're saying is all of the humanity, like all of humanity is going to hit that pulse. I sure hope so. I have a feeling in my children's lifetime, at least. But that would be fabulous. But I like how you said, Rosie, some might not see the light until they transition and cross
Mhm.
over. They might be knee deep in the sludge and in the matrix, that it's going to take more than this lifetime to get there. And that's okay. I'm checking this out here. Sandra, cool. In the meantime, I'm good at writing smaller waves. Yep, right, Professor. Right, Sandra. In the meantime, she's riding the smaller waves through life. Oh, here's Mr. Joe. I want to speak to my guides on a more personal, real way. I want to hear them better. What's a mala? I just ordered a mala. to help with meditation. Am I missing something? Does anyone know what
Amala
Amala is?
is it's a an Indian herbal. It comes in a supplement form.
Oh,
I know what it is. I just don't have a description here. I know it's for the
gotcha,
immune system, things like that.
gotcha,
So
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. A supplement. I see what you're saying. Joe, I hope
I
it
keep
gets to the point where you don't need nothing. You just are.
nothing at all, nothing at all.
Yeah.
I
And
keep
hyperfester.
hearing,
Mhm.
I keep hearing timelines, and we're just prepping the next generation. We are, but everything that we experience right now is right now. We're not experiencing, we're never going to experience anything but this, right? We're not going to,
Yeah.
we have a projected idea, but we
Yeah.
have right now is always going to be right now. It was right now for them years ago. Like it's going to be
Mhm.
right now for them in the future. So this
Mhm.
is happening right now. This is happening
Yes.
right now.
I
Yeah.
That's it. I think that's the perfect circle back of why selflessly a goddess. Again, all three of us are working within the 3D lives. We are doing the work now, and we're doing the shifting among others now, selflessly, and not like I'm going to take you in and I'm going to work on your energy. We're just emulating it so strongly that we're able to shift without even, just being our authentic selves. So I think that's a beautiful thing. Um, oh, no, I'm sorry, but it's like a Christian. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. That was probably really truth, Rosie. There you go. Well, friends in the chat, does anyone have any more questions for our guests? I might be, winding it down just a little bit here. I do want to hear from both of you again. I know we talked about how you're working in that 3D life, but maybe we can share a little bit more about. I know, Rosie, you have some projects that you are working on and expanding yourself with your psychic abilities and the way you want to work with people. Maybe you want to share a little bit about that, of what's
I
on deck
have,
for you.
yeah, I have rosy colored glasses. It's my view of things, and I take clients on a case by case basis. Just there's no website. It's just come to me, message me on Facebook or Instagram, and basically it's just like what you got going on. I have a couples therapy thing that I'm kind of doing because of what I am learning with the court system, and then I have just like coaching, I guess. And then my real like vision is this online library. I think it's going to be called Rose and Thorn School for the Mystics. And it's basically a place where we have a lot of content creators come together, provide mini courses, and people have a membership. And the membership fees go towards actually building like schools, kind of, or I guess you'd call them libraries because they're not necessarily schools. We don't claim to teach anybody. People come to the library to learn, like they did at the Library of Alexandria. So I've taken all the ideas that came with the building of the Library of Alexandria and just being inspired by its structure and putting that into an online thing that eventually the money from that goes to building actual libraries around the world. Where the people that are going through the membership process, so like as they watch all the courses and everything, it's all tracked. They're getting educated on all of what will be taught at the libraries or provided. For example, we'll have somebody doing apothecary, somebody teaching a mini course on some kind of how to do your home apothecary, and then somebody would learn all about that. They could go watch the content creators, what they're offering on their own websites. So we're basically hosting all this stuff. That's the main idea. Ultimately, the biggest vision is just to have centers around the world, healing centers full of information. We already have all of the information out there, but we need people to teach us how to use it. And we need people to teach us how to get through this stuff, the baby steps along. Yeah, so that's what I'm getting into. Currently seeking people to help me with that. My career right now, my day job keeps it a little difficult. So reaching out to the community, anybody that wants to know more about it or wants to be involved. We have a few people already set up to be involved. It's got to be divinely done. So we're just waiting until it feels right. So that's the direction I'm headed, using everything I'm learning from my day job and
That's
putting it
beautiful.
into it. It's all coming
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. And I love rosy colored glasses. It's a Facebook group. It's a really sweet community. So hello to
Yes.
those who are watching from there.
And if you want to be in the group, just message me. It's kind of a private group because I had to keep it kind of protected in that way, but
Sure.
just message me.
Of course. I love that. That's beautiful. And Sandra, you are just on fire, I know, with your shows and podcasts and vlogs. And I don't know, do you even need to expand anymore? You're focused and you're grounded and you're doing the work. Do you have any other elements you want to share?
Well, for me, I'm just going to continue to work, with the medical side of it, bringing in holistic wellness and getting that to be more cohesive. I know a lot of medical practitioners that are governed by their insurances that tell them how they are to treat patients. And a lot of people are getting a little fed up with that. So I'm going to continue to infiltrate in a quieter way and just have my presence there. And in the meantime, continue with the elder care and give the love there. I'm doing more and more Zoom sessions with advanced Reiki and zone technique, which I'm really loving because it's just as powerful as if someone was on my table, in person. But I'm just really looking forward to just expanding with the energies. I'm so excited every day to see what's coming, you know? And as you know, I work with kids, teenagers, adults, it doesn't matter. But every day I am really trying to fine tune my own instrument so that I can adjust to the climate that presents for the day and still maintain the highest form of integrity that I have to my spiritual soul commitment to be here. Because it took me a long time to accept my abnormalness and to be able to really vocalize from the heart and not really worry if it was totally received or if some criticism was coming back, and not to soak that up as if that was true. You know what I mean? So I think for me, I'm just excited every day to see things unwind. I'm excited to see your show continue to grow. I'm so happy to get introduced to Rozy and just be here with all of us and everyone that's listening. Your vibrations change while you're listening to these vibrations. And there's a huge energy exchange that happens, even though it's through laptops, computers, and phones. There's good things that come from this, a lot of good things that come from this. And it can override maybe any of the damaging rays that might come from other things. So if you set your intention to receive in the highest possible way, you're going to override all the other things that may bog you down.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes, because for every post or show like this that pops up, I see 50 others that are intended to lower the frequency.
Yes.
And but I see that one positive one, and it makes me feel so much stronger than the all 50 others put together. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's the big work. And I have to, before I close it out anymore, I want to bring it back, Sandra, that how beautiful and thankful I am for you to be doing that work with the elder care, because I think that's such a huge community of people that have been dropped. And, having watched my own relatives, even my dad, go through situations, there's something magical about an older, wiser human, and to bring in that level of spirituality into them, for them. I don't know, just being that helping hand is this through transitioning to almost like hospice, or is it really like the elder care, senior home living type? I
So
wanted to just talk
it's
about
a
that.
combination. So it's an elder, it's a care companion agency where they do support care and then also companion care. So I'm qualified to do
Okay.
both. So
Okay.
hospice is something that's different. That's when you bring nursing staff in, You could be at the end of life. It could be 10 years at the end of their life. But some people,
Okay.
I do go into assisted living, and I've got
Mhm.
I sat with a 99-year-old the other day
Mhm.
and watch people come in and out and pretty much ignore him. Oh, he doesn't need anything. Whereas I'm just sitting there kind of doing my energy work and taking him to the bathroom and pulling down the big boy pants with the depends, and I'm grateful because I know someday someone's going to do that for me, and I want them to do it with loving intent. So
Oh,
it's not like I'm trying to pay it forward, but if I live in the moment, um, and I go into homes in DC where I'm like, oh my gosh, how does your family let you live like this? Right?
aw.
And there's only so much I can do. So
Yeah.
I just maintain with my shift, and I leave a lot of love behind, and douse myself before and after I leave, and pick it back up the next day. But we really do need to pay attention to all living beings, especially the young and especially the older, because we're all here learning experiences and lessons, and it's all about respect, compassion, empathy, and understanding. And more importantly, it's the umbrella of love, unconditional love.
This is another thread because Rosie, that's the work up where you are with the addicts and things. If only someone would just sit with them and hold space with them. You're talking elderly. We have the addicts. I work with the children. Same sort of premise. I see you. What were your thoughts there, Rosie?
Unmuting and muting again.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I agree about the elders so much because they are the ones who've lived here as humans the longest. I mean, they've lived through this the longest, whatever their
Mhm.
experience was. I mean, this is hard and they've made it this far. They're way older than we are. They've done everything we've done and thought the things we've thought, in generally speaking. So why aren't we asking them for their advice more often instead of throwing them into places where we neglect them? And I worked in elder care as well, years ago, and I was closer to them, to some of the people there than their own children. And I was disturbed by that. And I always promised my mom, I mean, like, you're never going to go into a home. You're living with me. You're living with me and my kids, or, just me if they're gone. Like, you're never going to be in a home unless you want to be, right? Unless you want to be. Sometimes they worry about burdening us, but I don't think they should feel like that. I think that they should see themselves valuable, as valuable as they are. So that's really huge for me. And I'm
Mhm.
really grateful that you're doing that work, Sandra. Really grateful.
Thank you.
Yes. And Mr. Jim, I see your comments out there. You aren't even close to a home. And you can come stay with me when you are. Mr. Jim Goodall, by the way, he's saying, stop looking at me. And Alex, thank you. Well, speaking of all the selfless work that you all are doing with others, just a shout out to this show that we are selflessly sharing our human insight, our human experience, our insight, um, who we are as just goddesses. I'm going to say the word, whether it's triggering or not. And we are selflessly sharing our experiences. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe. That's my shameless plug. Thank you so very much for the chat. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to share before we head out of here? Sandra, I'm sending you all my love on the East Coast and wishing you a divine, fabulous one.
Right back at you, sister.
I'm sending some love out from the Pacific Northwest. Anybody that's needing to feel it, sending it out. No more
Yeah.
SAD, seasonal affective
Yay!
disorder. Spring's coming,
Yes.
everybody. Spring's coming.
Yes. Yeah, we're covering the whole gamut, everyone. So those who turned into this live, I really hope you felt something special there. We're just like hugging you all energetically across the United States. But we also have Australia in the house. We have UK in the house, I see. Thank you to all of you for chiming in on the chat. Mud Rabbit, bless your heart. You're still here. Love you much. And Sandra, if this resonates with you and you do know anyone that it would resonate with as well, please share. I do want to give a shout out to our episode next week. It's going to have a heavy hand and it's going to be heavy on the heart. It will be a night of discussion about addiction. So that will be Chastity Munoz and my friend Master Jeff Mamora. And we're going to be incredibly raw on that one as well. So selflessly, again, we will be sharing our insights. So thank you. Oh, Argentina. Look at Argentina in the house. Hi, Lakeside Laura. Sorry, I'm not going to close it right yet because I just saw these little chats right here. Very sensitive subject. Dad has dementia, always trying to escape while my mom was still sharp but couldn't walk, had a feeding tube. I wish I could have taken care of it. I'm right there with you. Lakeside Laura, we have that in common. I could have written that myself. So very difficult in that sense. So that is why beings such as us are vibrating at the frequency we are, and we are stepping into these missions to work with who we're working with. We're trying to selflessly do the work. So thank you all for receiving this so well. So blessings to you both. Thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having
Thank you.
us. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you later. Please be your best self and have a beautiful weekend. Talk to you soon. I'll say
Bye.
bye to you ladies in just a second. Bye, everybody. Thank you.